Dr. DeSoto. There's some teeth there. Dr. DeSoto by William Steig. Dr. DeSoto, the dentist, did very good work, so he had no end of patients. Those close to his own size, moles, chipmunks, etc., sat in a regular dentist chair. Larger animals sat on the floor while Dr. DeSoto stood on a ladder. Here he is, helping a pig with her teeth.
Oh dear.
For extra large animals, he had a special room. There, Dr. DeSoto was hoisted up to the patient's mouth by his assistant, who also happened to be his wife. I don't know if you can see this here. Here's his wife pulling him up. And there's Dr. DeSoto way up in the sky, trying to help a mule. Dr. DeSoto was especially popular with the big animals. He was able to work inside their mouths, wearing rubbers to keep his feet dry, and his fingers were so delicate, his drill so dainty, they could hardly feel any pain. Being a mouse, he refused to treat dangerous animals to mice, and said so on his sign. Cats and other dangerous animals not accepted for treatment. When the doorbell rang, he and his wife would look out the window. They wouldn't even admit the most timid-looking cat. So he didn't do cats, didn't do foxes. Why not? Why do you think he didn't want to do cats? What do cats do with mice?
They eat them.
They do eat them, so they have to be careful, right? Yeah. One day, when they looked out the window, they saw a well-dressed fox with a flannel bandage around his jaw. "I cannot treat you, sir," Dr. DeSoto shouted. "Sir, haven't you read my sign?" "I cannot treat you. You're a fox." What do you think foxes do to mice?
Eat one.
They eat them, yes.
Eat them.
"Please," wailed the fox, "have mercy, I'm suffering." And he wept so bitterly, it was pitiful to see. "Just a moment," said Dr. DeSoto. "The poor fox," he whispered to his wife. "What shall we do?" "Let's risk it," said Mrs. DeSoto, and she pressed the buzzer and let the fox in. Uh-oh. Let the fox in. A bad toothache. He was up the stairs in a flash. "Bless your little hearts," he cried, falling to his knees. "I beg you, do something. My tooth is killing me." "Sit on the floor, sir," said Dr. DeSoto, "and remove the bandage, please." So, Dr. DeSoto climbed up the ladder and bravely entered the fox's mouth. "Ow!" gasped the fox. He had a rotten bicep and unusually bad breath. "This tooth will have to come out," said Dr. DeSoto, "but we can make you a new one." "Oh, just stop the pain," whimpered the fox, wiping away some tears. Despite his misery, the fox realized he had a tasty little morsel in his mouth, and his jaws began to quiver. "Keep open," yelled Dr. DeSoto. "Wide open," yelled his wife. Very brave of him to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. "I'm giving you gas now," said Dr. DeSoto. "You won't feel a thing when I yank out the tooth." Soon the fox was in dreamland. Yummy," he mumbled. "How I love them raw, with just a pinch of salt and a dry white wine." They could guess what he was dreaming about. Mrs. DeSoto handed her husband a pole to keep the fox's mouth open.
That's funny.
It is funny.
Right?
They didn't want the mouth to close on the little mice, on Dr. DeSoto. Dr. DeSoto fastened his extractor to the bad tooth. Then he and his wife began turning the wrench. Finally, with a sucking sound, the tooth popped out and hung, swaying in the air. "I'm bleeding," the fox yelped when he came to. Dr. DeSoto ran up the ladder and stuffed some gauze into the hole. "The worst is over. You'll have your new tooth ready tomorrow. Be here at 11 sharp." The fox, still a little woozy, said goodbye and left. On his way home, he wondered if it would be shabby of him to eat the DeSotos when the job was done. After all they did for him, they might eat. He's thinking about eating them. That's not very nice.
Yeah, that's not very nice.
It isn't very nice. After all, for hours, Mrs. DeSoto molded a tooth of pure gold and polished it. "Raw with salt indeed," muttered Dr. DeSoto. "How foolish to trust a fox." "He didn't know what he was saying," said Mrs. DeSoto. "Why should he harm us? We're helping him." "Because he's a fox, they're wicked," said Dr. DeSoto. That night, the DeSotos lay awake worrying. "Should we let him come tomorrow?" "Once I start a job," the dentist said firmly, "I finish it. My father was the same way." "But we must do something to protect ourselves," said his wife. They talked and talked until they formed a plan. "I think we will work," said Dr. DeSoto, and a minute later he was snoring. Once he figured out what to do, he fell fast asleep. The next morning, promptly at 11 o'clock, a very cheerful fox returned to the dentist. He was feeling no pain. When Dr. DeSoto got into his mouth, he snapped it shut for a moment, then opened it wide and laughed. "Just a joke," he chortled. "Be serious," the dentist said sharply. "We have work to do." His wife was lugging the heavy tooth up the ladder. They had to replace the tooth that they took out. "Oh, I love it," exclaimed the fox. "It's just beautiful." Dr. DeSoto set the tooth in the socket and hooked it up to the teeth on both sides. The fox caressed the new tooth with his tongue. "My, it feels good," he thought. "I really shouldn't eat them. On the other hand, how can I resist?" "We're not finished yet," Dr. DeSoto said, holding up a large jug. "I have a remarkable preparation developed only recently by my wife and me. With just one application, you can get rid of toothaches forever. How would you like to be the first one to receive this unique treatment?" Something that will help so you'll never have a toothache again.
Yep.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yep.
"I certainly would," the fox declared. "I'd be honored." He hated any kind of personal pain. "You will never have to see us again," said Dr. DeSoto. "No one will see you again," said the fox to himself. He had definitely made up his mind to eat them with the help of his brand new tooth. Dr. DeSoto stepped to the fox's mouth with a bucket of secret formula and proceeded to paint each tooth. He hummed as he worked.
And not growing teeth.
"Yes, you're growing teeth." Mrs. DeSoto stood on the ladder, pointing out spots he missed. The fox looked very happy. Wonder what he's doing there, Dr. DeSoto. When the dentist was done, he stepped out. "Now close your jaws tight and please keep them closed for a full minute." The fox did as he was told, and then he tried to open his mouth. His teeth were stuck together. "Excuse me, I should have mentioned," said Dr. DeSoto. "You won't be able to open your mouth for a day or two. The secret formula must permanent the dentine. But don't worry, no pain ever again." The fox was stunned. He stared at Dr. DeSoto, then at his wife. They smiled and waited. All he could do was say, "Thank you very much," to his clenched teeth, and get up and leave. He tried to do so with dignity. So did he get to eat the mice? No, because the dentist had clamped his mouth shut. Then he stumbled down the stairs in a daze. Dr. DeSoto and his assistant had outfoxed the fox. They kissed each other and took the rest of the day off. And that is the story of Dr. DeSoto and how he